In a quaint and humble village nestled between rolling hills and fertile farmland, lived a man named Ntake. Despite his modest lifestyle, Ntake was the pride of the village. He was known far and wide for his tireless work ethic on the big farms and his unwavering honesty. If anyone needed a helping hand or trusted counsel, Ntake was the first name on their lips. Ntake had rich friends from nearby towns who admired his character. They often enjoyed his company, praised his virtues, and marveled at his dedication to hard work. But for all their admiration, they never offered him even a penny to improve his humble existence. One fateful day, Ntake decided to turn the tables. With a spark of ingenuity, he hatched a bold plan to change his fortunes. The following week, Ntake called for a village meeting. Everyone gathered under the giant mango tree at the center of the village, curious about what their beloved Ntake had to say. Clearing his throat and with an earnest expression, Ntake began, "My dear friends, you have known me all my life. You know I have been a hard worker and loyal to each of you. But now I find myself at a crossroads. I am tired of being alone. I need a wife. I need a family." The crowd murmured, then some nodded sympathetically. "There is a girl," Ntake continued, his eyes sparkling with feigned longing. "Her name is Nakato. She lives in a faraway village, and I love her deeply. She has agreed to marry me, but there is a challenge. Her family demands a hefty bride price, 30 cows, 20 tons of palm wine, 10 goats, clothes for all the aunties and uncles, 10 sacks of sugar, 10 sacks of rice, 3 big bunches of matuk, a brand new refrigerator, and even a sofa set." The crowd gasped. "You all know my condition," Ntake said with a sad smile. "I cannot afford any of this, but I am determined to make Nakato my wife. I am calling on you, my friends, my neighbors, my brothers, to help me. Whatever you can contribute, big or small, I welcome it with open hands. December is the time I plan to pay the bride price, so please consider my plea." Touched by Ntake's heartfelt speech, the villagers and even his wealthy friends were moved to action. Over the next weeks, contributions poured in. Some gave goats, others donated sacks of rice and sugar, while a few pooled their money to buy the refrigerator and sofa set. What no one knew was that Nakato and her family didn't exist. Ntake had crafted the tale to compel the community to finally offer him the help he had long deserved. The last meeting on December 5th was a grand affair. The villagers gathered in their finest clothes, eager to make their final contributions and witness the culmination of Ntake's grand wedding preparations. The meeting was held under the great mango tree, and there was an air of excitement. Ntake, standing tall but visibly nervous, addressed the crowd with his usual humility. "My dear friends, I cannot thank you enough for your generosity and support. You have shown me love beyond measure. I am overwhelmed, and I promise to make this wedding a day to remember." The contributions that day were staggering. Some brought cash, others brought food, and a few even promised more items to be delivered before the wedding day. Ntake recorded everything meticulously in his notebook, nodding and smiling as each villager stepped forward. But deep down, his heart raced. How would he escape this elaborate plan? The villagers' faith in him had surpassed his expectations. He had amassed a small fortune, and the thought of deceiving them weighed heavily on his conscience. Yet he reminded himself of his goal, to build a better life not just for himself but for the community. After the meeting, Ntake stayed up all night, pacing back and forth in his small hut. He needed an exit strategy that would leave the villagers feeling proud rather than betrayed. Finally, an idea struck him. Ntake decided to fake a tragic but honorable reason for the wedding's cancellation. He would create a scenario where his bride-to-be, Nakato, was tragically taken away by her family due to unforeseen circumstances, leaving him heartbroken but resilient. On December 15th, just 5 days before the wedding, Ntake called an emergency meeting. The villagers, worried and curious, gathered under the mango tree once more. Ntake, looking disheveled and distressed, addressed them with tears in his eyes. "My dear friends," he began, his voice trembling. "I bring you the most heartbreaking news. Nakato's family has refused to let her marry me. They have decided to give her hand to a wealthy suitor from their village who offered a bride price I could never match." A collective gasp filled the air. "I am devastated," Ntake continued. "I did everything I could, but it was not enough. I want to thank all of you for your unwavering support. Your love and generosity have shown me that I am not alone, even in my darkest hour." The villagers were moved to tears. Some women openly wept, and the men shook their heads in sympathy. But, Ntake added, his voice now resolute, "I will not let this tragedy break me. With your blessings, I will use the funds and contributions you have given me to build something meaningful, the legacy for our village. I will establish a cooperative farm where we can all work together and benefit as one community." The villagers, though saddened by the news, rallied behind Ntake. His plan to use the funds for the greater good inspired them. In the weeks that followed, Ntake kept his promise. He purchased 50 acres of land and started the cooperative farm, which left most villagers feeling jealousy and unsatisfied about their money contributed. The days following Ntake's announcement were filled with a mixture of sympathy and quiet skepticism. While most villagers admired his resilience and his plan for the cooperative farm, a few began to whisper doubts. Rumors spread like wildfire. Some said Nakato never existed, while others claimed Ntake had been plotting this from the beginning. By December 25, the whispers had grown louder. The richest man in the village, Mbuku, heard the rumors and began to feel duped. "How could I have given 10 cows and 5 goats without ever meeting this supposed bride's family?" he fumed to his friends. Lul, the man who had promised to fund transportation, was equally suspicious. On the evening of December 28, the murmurs reached a boiling point. A group of villagers, led by Mbuku and Lul, marched to Ntake's modest home, torches in hand, their faces etched with anger. By the time they arrived, nearly the entire village had joined the mob demanding answers. Ntake, sensing the storm brewing, tried to stay calm. He stepped outside his hut, his hands raised in a gesture of peace. "My friends," he began, his voice trembling, "what is the meaning of this gathering?" "What is the meaning?" Mbuku roared. "You know very well, Ntake. We gave you our money, our livestock, and our trust. Now you tell us there's no wedding. Where is Nakato? Where is our money?" The crowd shouted in agreement, their voices a chaotic chorus of anger. Ntake tried to explain. "Please, listen to me. I never meant to deceive you. I used the money to start the cooperative farm, our farm. It's for the good of the village." But his words fell on deaf ears. Lul stepped forward, his face red with fury. "You lied to us, Ntake. You took advantage of our kindness and used it for your gain. Return our money, or face the consequences." The crowd roared in agreement, some shaking their fists, others wielding sticks. Ntake, now visibly shaken, pleaded, "I have nothing left. Everything has been invested in the farm. Please, give me time, and I will repay each of you." But the villagers were beyond reason. Someone threw a stone, narrowly missing Ntake's head. Others began to chant, "Thief! Thief! Thief!" Realizing the situation was spiraling out of control, Ntake bolted back into his hut and locked the door. The villagers banged on the walls, demanding he come out. After hours of chaos, the village elders arrived, attempting to calm the mob. They convinced the villagers to disperse for the night, but their verdict was clear: Ntake must repay every penny, or he would be banished from the village. The next morning, Ntake woke to find his house surrounded again. This time, there was no reasoning with the villagers. They demanded their money immediately. With no other option, Ntake slipped out the back of his hut and ran. The villagers saw him fleeing and gave chase, shouting and waving their torches. The dramatic pursuit wound through the village paths, across fields, and into the dense forest. Ntake, come back and face us, Mbuku shouted, leading the charge. Ntake ran as fast as his legs could carry him, his heart pounding in his chest. He knew he couldn't return to the village, not now, not ever. Days later, after wandering through the forest and evading capture, Ntake found himself in a neighboring village. Exhausted but determined, he vowed to start anew. He found work on a farm, leveraging the skills and reputation he had built over the years. Back in his home village, the cooperative farm Ntake had started eventually bore fruit. The villagers, though bitter about the betrayal, couldn't deny the farm's success. Some quietly acknowledged that Ntake's vision had indeed benefited the community, even if his methods were questionable. Ntake's name became a cautionary tale, a story of ambition, deception, and unintended consequences. And while he never returned to his village, he carried with him the lessons of his past, determined to live a life of honesty and humility in his new home.